I'll give you a hug right now. I'll take the one watch.
Ready? All right, folks, if I could have your attention. Thank you all for being here this evening. It's always good to see a good crowd here. At this time, I'm going to call to order the October 27, 2015 regular meeting of the Waxhaw Board of Commissioners. If you will stand with me, we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'll remain standing for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay. Time to adopt the agenda. Let's see, we've got the one item in closed session. We've got a couple of other updates that we're going to have in closed session. But are there any changes to the agenda at this time? Any changes? Commissioner Hunt? No changes to the agenda.
We went at a closed session, but after the adoption of the regular agenda. So we'll adopt and I'll staff for.
You can put it right before public comments.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we're going to add a closed session to,
Seek legal advice.
okay, after the adoption of the agenda. Okay, so with that one change, anything else? Yes, sir. Okay, as amended? Okay, we've got a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion's unanimous. We're going to go in the other room and get some legal counsel from our Chaplain Spencer. I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session for legal advice related on a zoning matter.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yes, sir. I don't, no time limit specified, but we will do our best to be as expedient as possible. We'll try and do that. Or less. Hopefully it won't take that long.
got the most current.
Okay.
I think the developers have been moving backwards to put this thing through and to accommodate some people who don't even want to turn the property. We all use gas, we all
Okay.
use a mechanic.
All right, everyone. Let's resume. And next up, we have public comments. And we'll start with Martin Lane. Mr. Lane? Didn't recognize you.
Me neither. Good evening. Appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to speak. Looks like y'all got a full house night, and I don't miss that a bit. So y'all have fun with that. I'm going to have dinner.
All right.
I came, I guess it's been 6-7 weeks ago to bring to y'all's attention junk vehicles in my neighborhood. I understand that just today, the code enforcement officers figured out who owns that car, which is good, but I reported in July, and I know the HOA had reported it in April, and it's still there today. That's a problem, guys. I mean, let's get it fixed. There's another house around the corner that's got 3 junk vehicles in the driveway. I reported on the same day in July. Those cars are still there. We know who owns those cars because it's sitting in the driveway. Again, I mean, what's the holdup here, guys? Nothing? Okay. When I came and reported, and I did speak to Warrenwood when I came and reported it, brought to y'all's attention several months ago. The mayor did follow up with me, and I appreciate that very much. The town manager did follow up with me. Since then, I've left messages with the code enforcement officer. No return. Again, until I walk in the door tonight, I had no idea where we stood on this. It's a problem. I mean, it's in the ordinance. I don't know how long you guys give them, but it's been 112 days since I reported it. It had been there 6 months before I reported it. And it's not unique to my neighborhood. It's not unique to my house. It's citywide. I know there are several people who have made reports, code enforcement issues, and they're not getting any relief. That's really all I have to say. I hope you guys, whoever's left, whoever's going to be here, take some time to really take a look at the code enforcement around here. It's a problem. There was a house where the grass had grown. The grass was this high. I guess Todd, I'm not sure who came to cut it, but it was cut a couple weeks ago. It hadn't been cut in a year. It's a problem. That's it. Thank y'all for y'all's comment, or lack of. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Lane. Okay. Rick Gromlovitz. Took me a minute to read your name. How are you tonight?
Good, how about you?
Good.
I'm Rick Bromlovitz, and I live on King Street. Been a resident at Waxhaw for over 35 years. And tonight I'd like to voice my concern about, number one, the zoning. I am really concerned based on looking at the renderings of the apartments that are going up. They don't fit in with the historic district, or what we consider historically accurate for the town. We've made all these changes to the zoning. Now we're concerned, especially on King Street, and anybody that has a historical home, that the zoning is not restrictive enough to let the houses blend into a historic district. So what I'd like to know is what my neighbors and I can do, and anybody that's in the historical area, to what we can do to get the town of Waxhaw to zone our areas historical and have some architectural zoning in there that protects us. Right now, anybody can build just about anything in there. There's been a couple small changes, but they're not enough to protect us. So what can I do and what can our group, especially, like I said, King Street, Brevard, Main Street, do to start the process? And what are the plans in the future to correct some of these zoning problems that I see?
That's quite a discussion.
Yeah, it is quite a discussion.
And I'll sit down with Warren and come up with some thoughts for you, or I'd be happy to talk with you.
I mean, we're
Afterwards or
we're-
tomorrow.
We have a whole group, and we'd really
Yeah.
like to get something going here.
Yep,
And,
it's time.
yeah, exactly. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for your
Rick.
time.
And don't worry, Martin, I'll follow up with you too. Peter Frederick.
Hi, good evening. Thank you all for listening to me. I'm a new resident here in Waxhaw. I live on 316 West North Main Street. My wife Gloria and I just purchased a home there that we're renovating, and we're concerned about the apartments and the zoning downtown as well. We bought our home based on a lot of input from... I can't hear you. Oh, sorry. Is that better?
There you go.
One of the reasons we bought our home was the corridor plan. It looked real attractive, real good. The buildings in that plan seemed to fit with the downtown. And we spent a lot of money based on what you guys provided us for information, what our town was going to look like. And we got to meet with the builder for these apartments and found that he's building a college dorm there. Nothing to do with the renovation, the renderings that were presented and are still presented by your board in the town of Waxhaw here on your website. And we need help with it. You know, we're using our money to live down here and make investments in the town, and it doesn't align with what you gave us to do, and we just don't think that's fair. So we'd like to find out how we can help improve it, how we can be part of a resolution, and how we can slow this down to get it fixed to what everybody wants. And it's not just about us in downtown. Currently, I live in Wesley Chapel. We looked at the corridor plan too, living there, and we use downtown Waxhaw. If we say we can go right down to Charlotte, or we can go left to Waxhaw, we want to come to Waxhaw. You can't drive on the roads here. You put 500 more people in town here, we won't get to Maxwell's. We won't get to Rippington's. We won't get to the restaurants downtown that we want to go to, but we'll never be able to get there. It's too much traffic there. So we need help to understand how to use the roads, how to make the roads protect the city. They said there's going to be this road that goes around Waxhaw. When's it going to come? Shouldn't we build that before we put the apartments in place? Shouldn't we build it before we have more growth here? And where are they going to go to school? My kids went to school here in Union County. It was a problem. The schools are over full. What happens to the people downtown Waxhaw now? Where do they go to school? So does that mean more buses? The buses already don't travel the roads like regular cars because of the railroad tracks and traffic. So will they be cutting through the only small neighborhoods downtown where kids are out there playing? Can you please help us address how to fix this? And is it too late to fix it? Is this a done deal and nothing can be done about it? We can't make it better? I'm not too far along. I can just sell, move on.
It's never too late.
So there is opportunity to change the course of the apartments downtown now.
No.
It's pretty yes or no.
Well, yeah, it's never too late until they come out of the ground, is my opinion. As for what we can do, that again is another longer discussion.
We know you have a hard job. My wife and I were sitting here saying, boy, we wouldn't want your job. We're going to go home and eat dinner, and you guys work all day, but, you know, we really need some help on this. And really, I think everybody in Union County, you know, we're talking about a little group of people here, but I promise you, if you took the corridor plan and went to these schools and asked the residents that are pulling in there and dropping their kids off, is this what they want? Or you hold up those apartments, every one of them's going to say yes, the corridor plan's what they wanted, or something similar to it, but they don't know. You know, we were talking about the guy at the pizza place. He didn't know. You know, communication to just not us, but to the whole county. As a group, we should be able to help and do something about it. We'd like to find out. We'd like your guidance to figure out how to do that, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Terry Settle.
Terry Settle, 612 North Providence Street. I'm basically here to ask for what I did at the last meeting, is to ask you to please look at the form-based code again and to plug up any loopholes that have already been identified in there and not wait the year it's going to take to revise the UDO. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Kay Carnes?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and gentlemen, commissioners, and town manager. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be a part of the town of Waxhaw. And it just does my heart good to see so many people here. This is wonderful. How many of you are for 233 apartments in the downtown heart of Waxhaw, historical Waxhaw? If you are, raise your hand. Nobody. So why in the world did you commissioners approve it? That's what I want to know. Nobody in this town wants 233 apartments in the middle of Waxhaw, and I think you all need to find some way to stop it. I understand there were some highfalutin group that came down here and did some kind of overlay called the Lawrence Group, who tricked themselves into finding a little loophole so that they could develop their apartments. Well, I think we should sue that Lawrence Group and tell them that they tricked us and got themselves a little loophole so they could build their fancy apartments and put money in their pockets. It was wrong. It was deceitful. And I think we should sue the fire out of them. Don't you? Can we do anything? We're going to just sit here and watch 4-story apartments go up as people come into Waxhaw. Look at this wonderful little historic town. Doesn't it look great with those wonderful apartments there? Who in the world is going to come down here and rent an apartment all the way from Charlotte just so they can turn around and drive another hour and a half back to Charlotte? Nobody. You know what those apartments are going to end up being? They're going to end up being government subsidized apartments. That's what's going to happen. You know it and I know it. We don't want those apartments, and if I have to go around to every person in this town and get their signature, I will. And why can't you do something that the town wants instead of what the planning board wants and instead of what you want? It's about time you did what the town wanted. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Carnes. Sandra Bushnell.
Where are these apartments?
Church Street, that area that they've just taken down all of the buildings off on 16.
Park faces the playground so that the children can smell the poop.
I don't know what that has to do with the apartments, but that's all right.
Sandra Bushnell. Oh, wrong list. Oh, okay, okay. All right, that's all of our general public comments this evening. Next up is the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is unanimous. Okay, mayor's report. So, I really don't have. Yes, sir.
Because I'm not familiar with the format of this meeting, since it's the first one I've ever attended, could you give us an idea when you make a motion to do something, what is that about? Just so you can educate us as to how you run your meeting.
The motion that we just had was to approve the items that are listed on the consent agenda. So if you have your agenda, it shows there are 5 items on tonight's consent agenda. There should be some at the back of the room there. Oh, you came in the front? Okay. Usually, the public comes in through the door back there, and it's usually set back there, along with the sign-up sheets. If you'd like to sign up to speak and share your thoughts with the commissioners. Okay, so I don't have a whole lot to share with you all this evening, but I am pleased to hear that there are some folks that are concerned about the apartment project that's in process. And unfortunately, that is in a process that does not come before this board or through a public process. But if there is opportunity for me to help direct that project in a manner that would be better for Waxhaw and more aligned with our plans, then I will make every effort to do so. And we'll certainly welcome any assistance from the community in that effort.
Let us know where the plan is for those.
Warren, do you have an update on where that sits presently?
They are updating their numbers related to their traffic impact analysis, and then that information will go to the North Carolina Department of Transportation for them to weigh in on improvements that will need to be made to Highway 16 specifically.
So where we are is the plans have been submitted for staff review. They've been reviewed by the staff and by an outside consultant, Kimley Horn, and the comments from both the staff and Kimley Horn have gone back to the developer, to the applicant, and we're waiting for them to come back for round 2.
Right.
Correct?
Correct.
And any anticipation of when that will be?
Is there nothing we can do to stop
I wish there was more.
our manager?
That would be illegal. Well, I'm not going to.
Right,
I can't address
it's
that
in staff
discussion.
review, yeah. It's in staff review. So, okay. Commissioner Fitzgerald, do you have maybe an update for us on the McDonald House?
Well, I do have an update on McDonald House. We have the heating and cooling system went in this week. We have the windows in. We are working to hire an interior decorator to design the interior of the house. And we're still on our way to get it done. I'd like to talk about another subject. I feel privileged to be one of these board members up here. I was elected 2 years ago, and it'd be a week from tonight that everybody needs to go to election and vote. You're right as a citizen. There are many men and women in this wonderful country that fought for that right, and you need to go and vote. I don't care who you vote for. I want you to vote. And I want to thank this board for the last 2 years. I've been very pleased and honored to work with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Maher?
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Hunt?
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Stewart?
Nothing.
Commissioner Warner? Okay. I did want to also mention that we had a very productive work session this afternoon, continuing our conversation about economic development. I felt it went really well. We had a lot of good discussion about understanding what economic development means for us so that we can, better direct our community's future. Warren?
Mayor Gardner, members of the board, Mr. Spencer. We did meet for 3 hours this afternoon to discuss the topic of economic development and the need to diversify our property tax base. The single-family residential development is great, but we need different types of development in town that we aren't seeing or haven't been seeing in the last few years. So, coming out of the economic development session, the board, and this is for the audience, some of you were here, but just to recap, the board set some short-term goals over the next 6 months related to developing an economic development strategy for the town. Namely, we are working towards contracting with a retail consultant to help us really identify the demographics in town, what we might be good candidates for from a retail perspective. Specifically, Kurt White, the downtown development director, is working with the Economic Restructuring Committee downtown, and they're interviewing firms, and we'll go through a process and identify a recommendation, a recommended firm to bring forward to the board, and will be a more extensive presentation. But that is one thing that we will come back to the board with in the next 6 months. I think everybody would recognize that in a lot of different areas, the town is underserved in the retail area. Specifically related to water and sewer, there are a number of constraints in Waxhaw that will impact the town's ability to develop and attract certain types of economic development projects. So we are working with Union County to identify what those constraints are. I had a meeting with the Union County Public Works Director yesterday. Union County owns the water and sewer system within the town of Waxhaw. So we were somewhat at their mercy, but we hope to form a partnership with them to address some of the water and sewer constraints. Specifically, the Union County Public Works does have a plan to address some issues downtown that we know are in existence. So we will work on a plan to address other issues in the Waxhaw vicinity. And we recognize that the Union County EDC is the town of Waxhaw's primary economic development partner. There is also a Waxhaw Economic Development Corporation, and they will have a role in economic development as well, but the town recognizes that the main partner is the Union County EDC, as they have full-time staff and a budget, and they do a lot of the heavy lifting related to economic development. We are working on adopting a comprehensive plan and a new future land use plan. If you don't know what the comprehensive plan is, it's what you want Waxhaw to look like 25 years from now. So that process is underway. We hope to complete that in the coming months and hopefully have a proposed plan before the board in January or February. And with that will be a future land use plan on how the town will develop in the outlying areas. And the board also identified the need to develop a strategy for short-term and long-term use of town-owned properties. The town owns a number of properties in the downtown area specifically, but beyond that, we need to identify needs that we have in terms of property acquisition related to potentially down the road a new town hall, new public services facility, additional parks, those sorts of things. So looking both at the properties we own and where we might need to acquire property down the road, we're going to have a session where we're going to sit down and talk about those things. We don't have an inventory of developable property, and what I'm talking about are things outside the residential realm. Think light industrial, office, medical. We need to develop an inventory of where we might be able to grow or develop property, again, other than single-family residential, which is great, but that's all we've been getting. If we're looking to diversify our property tax base, we're going to need to develop that inventory and be able to market that to potential clients. So that in the next 6 months. Additionally, the town is in the process of conducting a downtown parking study that should be done in December. So we're moving forward with that. The town commissioned that study. The town has directed the design committee to start the process of developing a downtown streetscaping plan. That will be something that's coming forward to the design committee. We got into this by means of the town already had a street lighting plan in place for downtown with the decorative street lights, but we decided to take a time out and look at something broader in terms of let's come back with a comprehensive streetscaping plan versus just the lighting plan. The board directed staff and the OAC committee to develop a process to create a new Waxhaw brand that will come into either re-energizing or creating re-energizing our current brand or creating a new one. So that work will be forthcoming in the next 6 months. The board directed the staff to create a millennial task force. Actually, the board will establish this task force to determine what Waxhaw needs to do to attract that demographic. That's a demographic that we don't have. So what is it that we are missing that would allow us to attract millennials to Waxhaw? We will be developing a capital improvement plan that contains a number of economic development elements within the next 6 months. And then in that 6-month period, we'll reconvene the Board of Commissioners to gauge the success we've had in achieving these items. So that was the more immediate tasks that the board set out during that workshop this afternoon. And this is pretty much for the audience's information. Okay, Town Manager's Quarterly Finance Report. So we've completed the first quarter of the fiscal year, July, August, and September. So we're 25% of the way through the year, and let's see how we're doing. So with 25% of the year complete, we've received 10% of our budgeted revenues, and you think, oh my gosh, we're way behind. But keep in mind that the bulk of our revenues come in December, January, February through the property tax. So we're going to make up a lot of lost ground over the coming months in terms of our revenue. And this is why it's important to have a decent fund balance in place to avoid cash flow interruptions and issues related to making payroll and those sorts of things. So, through the first 25% of the year, we've collected 10% of our budgeted revenue. We have expended or have encumbered 18% of our budgeted expenditures. So, yes, we are upside down the first 3 months. That is not unusual. That is the way it always works. And again, that will clean itself up in the months to come, particularly December, January, February. So looking at the bottom line for the town of Waxhaw through the first quarter of the fiscal year, we're upside down. We have spent $759,000 more than we have collected. But again, that is not unusual. All towns are in that position from a budget perspective the first 3 months. Any questions so far? Okay. Building permit values. So this is 3 years. This is for the first quarter, looking back the 3-year period. Or the current year minus in the previous two, going back to FY 13-14, you can see FY 13-14 was a tremendous year for permitting in the town of Waxhaw. Almost all of that was single-family residential construction that was permitted. The value of those permits, in terms of the value equates to the value of the specific project, was almost $50 million. So that's extremely strong for a town this size. And then you can see it tapered off somewhat in FY 14-15 for the first 3 months to around $16 million. Well, we've bounced back from where we were at this point last year to about $27 million, but still about half of what we were a couple of years ago. But still, those are strong numbers.
But that from a couple of years ago was a jump because there'd been a
Pent-up demand.
Pent-up demand.
Yeah. What happened was there was pent-up demand, and then last year they ran out of product in terms of the lots, and now we're catching back up again. Yeah.
So things are equaling out. Is what's happening.
Correct. So this is probably about where we should be. So here's a little behind the numbers. Within the first 3 months of the fiscal year, we have permitted 66 new single-family homes in Waxhaw. So we're on course to do about 264 new homes in Waxhaw, which would add about 1,000 new residents to the 15,000 that we currently have. And interestingly, this is extremely strong. The average home value being permitted is about $420,000. That is a strong, strong number. This is through the first 3 months, but those are high-quality homes that are being built in the community. So conversely, and this is why the economic development session was so important, if you look at on the commercial side or non-residential, in the last 3 months, the town of Waxhaw did 4 commercial building permits. So you can see there's a disparity there between the single family, which is great, but we need to start diversifying our tax base, and we will see whether or not we're doing that by whether or not this number moves.
Which ones were those?
I'd have to go back and look. They ought to stick out like a sore thumb if there's only 4 of them. So.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They're probably all up in the Curitan.
Well, the total value of those projects was about $1.4 million. So they were, not large projects, but smaller commercial type projects. So when you do the numbers on that, so through the first 6 months, we're 93% residential and 7% non-residential. So that's that economic development conversation of diversifying the property tax base. We're always going to be heavy residential because we are, a lot of folks work in the Charlotte area. But I think we can have a stronger presence in the commercial side of the house over time with some focus and effort. Okay, switching gears a little bit. Sales tax revenue this is just 2 months. The way the sales tax revenue comes in, it lags. So this is just July and August. Any questions? I'm sorry. Okay. You can see from FY 13-14 to 14-15 a very strong jump through the first 3 months, and even between 14-15 and 15-16, we've seen a 3% increase, which is decent in sales tax. So our sales tax numbers continue to grow, not exponentially, but 3% is a good number. So that's that points to not only the Union County economy, but the statewide economy, the way those numbers are distributed. And that's it. If there's questions or comments.
Any questions for Warren?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Okay. Public hearing, continued from October 13, 2015. This is petition CD-002959-2014. Is a request by Michelle Resource Management LLC on behalf of Francis H. Presley, Clyde D. Presley, Shirley Jean Davis, and Jerry G. Davis for a conditional rezoning map amendment from R1 Single Family to CDC3 General Commercial on approximately 5.1 acres, tax parcel ID number 06-162-002, located on the west side of Highway 16, just north of the intersection of Highway 16 and Kensington Road. The petitioner is proposing a commercial development for the site, which will include a convenience store with associated car wash, a retail building, and restaurant. I will entertain a motion to reopen this public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Chris, you have additional information for us?
No, ma'am, I don't, but I'm available for any questions you have.
Okay. Do we have questions for Chris? Did we advertise that there would be additional public comment at this meeting, at this public hearing?
I don't think we expressly stated that. This board always has the discretion on how you allow speakers. I know that the main purpose was to recess to allow the neighborhood meeting
to take
and
place.
receive any feedback therefrom. So I anticipated you'd hear from the applicant on that, and then if you choose to hear, but I think it was going to be limited to the neighborhood hearing was the intent
The
of the
neighborhood
board.
meeting?
But that's,
Because I've got 4 people signed up to speak here.
It was not re-advertised for this meeting. It was the previous meeting.
oh no, it would not have been, I'm sorry, it would not have been re-advertised because you recessed to time, date, and place. And when you do that, rarely do you re-advertise because it's a funding issue, and usually most people that are here know about that. I thought the question was the purpose and who would be allowed to speak, and I thought the limitation was mainly to allow input about the neighborhood meeting, so you'd hear from the applicant, but the board ultimately controls that.
Okay,
Could I make a motion?
yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we reopen the public comment period. I think
Okay.
it'd be acceptable to me.
Okay. Well, we can just take consensus on that. Okay. All right, so who's here with the applicant?
Yeah, the engineer, Mr. Ross.
Would you like to give us an update from your neighborhood meeting?
If you'll give me just a second, may I have a presentation?
Oh. Okay.
Madam Mayor, while he's getting that ready, I can certainly go ahead and extend a few comments. First of all, thank you to this board and to you, Madam Mayor, for your willingness to extend the public hearing from the previous meeting. That did indeed allow us the opportunity to meet with the Curitan HOA. And I'd also like to extend my gratitude to Ms. DeFinnis and Mr. Paget, who were instrumental in orchestrating that. I feel like we had a pretty good turnout, a few new faces and some of the regulars at that meeting, and we do appreciate everyone's involvement in that October 19th meeting. Also present at that meeting were members of Eagle Engineering, myself and Mr. Quinn, standing here behind me. Mr. Moser representing Michaud Resource Development. We also had members of the Sam Smart Development Team, and Mr. Wood, thank you for your presence at that meeting as well. That evening, we presented an overview of the project, much like you have seen before, so I'm not going to belabor the issue, but we just talked about the original zoning on the plan that you see here. We talked about the updates to the site plan. We talked about all the aspects of the plan. We talked about the relation of this site, specifically in its relationship to some of the adjoining users, the bank with the drive-throughs to the immediate south, the restaurant, the drive-through restaurant across the street, the convenience store across the street. And I'm going to offer a point of clarification. I think there's been a little confusion. The proposed site that you see before you, the convenience store has what are called MPDs, multi-product dispensers. There are 8 of those on this site. That allows for a total of 16 cars to fuel at one time, one on either side of these 8 dispensers. For orientation and for proximity, that is exactly the size of the fueling dispensers across the street at the Feel Good station. So I wanted to make sure that everybody understands the size. Matter of fact, in some of these later slides, I think you'll see that our canopy and our overall structure are actually a little smaller than what is across the street. In that meeting, we talked about the traffic impact analysis that the town has initiated and the current status of that. We discussed the developer's commitment that whatever the town's engineer determines is the proportionate share for the Micho Resources Group, that commitment financially will be made to the town. We discussed that in that public meeting. We talked about site access, we talked about site circulation, and we talked in pretty good detail about the modifications to the plans that have been made since the planning board and since the town staff had approved our original plans. Those plans included the enhanced connectivity to adjacent parcels, the addition of on-street parking, the enhanced pedestrian experience with, I brought my own pointer tonight, I don't trust this one. Here we go. The pedestrian experience. This is a destination point with a plaza, with a dining area, with an outdoor experience, with a pergola. We discussed that. We talked about the fact that previous plans had above ground stormwater detention. We've cleaned up this plan. We've removed that. We've put it underground, so that enhances the aesthetics of the site and actually benefits the site utilization. We talked about the extension of the 12-foot wide multi-use path across the front of the site. And we talked about, most importantly, the full architectural integration of the proposed buildings, not only between the 4 uses themselves, but also with the Curitin plans. So we had quite a bit of discussion, thank you, quite a bit of discussion about the architectural components of these buildings. We presented an overview of the gap analysis. These 3-dimensional model photos obviously were discussed as well. There's a better view of the plaza that we just discussed. We gave an overview of the gap analysis. Again, not to belabor that issue, the study areas and the findings of those gap analysis, you all have those in your packets. I'll be glad to discuss that in greater detail if anyone wishes. We discussed the location of the site in relation to the Curitin community. Let me go back just 2 more. Through the gap analysis, and then the orientation of the site as it relates, our site is here. This is the church property. This is the undeveloped floodplain, will always remain wooded, and then this is the Curitin residential structures, and this is the clubhouse where we met. And we discussed in detail proximity of our site to residences and to the clubhouse. There was originally some confusion. I think some believed that our project was actually this property, which is adjacent to the HOA community clubhouse, and it is not. We're actually 710 feet from our closest restaurant structure to what is the clubhouse structure. So we discussed that in a bit of detail. As with previous discussions, some residents did express a specific concern about the proposed convenience store. We understand that not everyone is ever going to be pleased with all aspects of any proposed development, but I did summarize in my comments to the HOA by stating that it is the development team's commitment to bring Waxhaw the best, the nicest restaurant, the best and nicest convenience store, retail center, and car wash facility that are in the area. We believe that that is reflected in the plans that you have submitted in support of this zoning petition. We also believe that it's reflected in the quality of businesses that are proposed for this development. To expand on that in the future, I would invite anyone to visit the Sam's Express Car Wash website and look at how their corporation is involved in the community. They are a corporation heavily involved in the community service and also community betterment projects. They have expressed to us that they are also committed in being heavily involved in this Waxhaw area as well. In response to questions that we received regarding the tax benefit of a convenience store, these projections are provided to us by SamSmart. This is on a monthly basis. $100,000 in tax revenue. That is sales tax, gasoline tax, approximately 200,000 gallons per month being sold. Federal, state, and local taxes equate to about 50 cents per gallon. What that means is the federal government gets roughly 20 cents and the state government gets roughly 30 cents. That state government money on every gallon of gas is what funds the Powell bill, which allows communities to, there's the state formula based on miles of roadway that the municipality owns and the population that funds the Powell bill for each municipality. What I would like to do now is stop for just a quick moment and read a letter into the record, if I may.
Sure.
This letter is written to the town commissioners. You may have it in an email format. This is from Miss Jean and Mr. Jerry Davis in reference to the Honeycutt property, 3012 Providence Road, Waxhaw. Commissioners, we have observed with great interest the questions that have been presented about the Honeycutt property development proposal at a recent hearing and at a recent meeting with the Curitan HOA on October 19th. Significant changes have been made and presented for review by the Moser Group and Eagle Engineering. The changes made were in response to concerns raised about the original plan that was presented in July. The development staff has spent many hours of time, staff assistance, and financial resources to improve the plan to meet the community needs as well as all requirements by the town of Waxhaw. Our family has attempted to be a good neighbor and have worked to market the property since 2007. We have experienced numerous setbacks over the past 7 years as we have attempted to sell our property. Many of the setbacks were a result of outside influences that we had no control over. We believe that the plan that Michaud Resource Management has proposed with the help of a quality professional staff is a sound plan that will be a positive asset to the town of Waxhaw. Michaud Resource Management is a local company with employees who live in Union County. This plan will provide additional resources to the town, additional tax base, and provide additional employment for residents of the community. As longtime owners of the property and lifelong members of the Waxhaw community, we appreciate your sound judgment in approving the zoning change and approving this important project. As elected officials, we recognize that you have an important responsibility to respect not only the new citizens and businesses of the community, but also the lifelong members that have lived their entire lives and supported Waxhaw for many years. We appreciate your time and consideration for a development that would benefit all the residents of Waxhaw for many years. And this is submitted with regards, Gene and Jerry Davis, 5823 Will Plowler Road, Waxhaw, North Carolina. In closing, this development team has done everything right and within reason to create a project that meets the long-range vision of the town, and that is noted with the approvals by the staff and the planning board. This development team has developed a project that meets a portion of the local economic demand while creating a substantial commercial tax base and employment opportunities for the community. We have a development team that is committed to bringing a first-class, attractive, safe, economically viable commercial development to the town of Waxhaw. We are very pleased to have the approval of the town staff and the planning board, and it is our hope and our request that you, the town commissioners, will support this petition as well. As a side note, Mr. Wood, we would like to assist you in fixing the disparity between residential and commercial building permits. Thank you. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have, or if any comments come up that warrant developer addressing them, I'll be glad to help with that as well.
Okay. Any questions at this time? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ross. Okay, we have 4 people signed up to speak tonight. We'll start with Miguel Perico? Say that again? Miguel Panizo.
Yes, I'm Curtin resident at 8200 Sunset Hill Road. I thank you for this opportunity to speak, and it is a beautiful project. However, I find that it's not the right location. Proximity to our subdivision, lighting, invading our, residents, and pollution concerns, and most importantly, traffic. As these customers will not be able to exit northbound on Providence Road, they would have to go on that driveway between the church and the Fifth Third Bank to turn left on Kensington, to then again turn again left on Providence to go north. That is going to be a crazy intersection. And so the next option would be everybody's going to cut through Sunset Hill to exit through Curtin and do the same thing. It's a 16 pump, 16 car. It's just the amount of volume that this project is bringing to that area. I don't know who designed Kensington Drive, but they were not thinking about the traffic that it brings from 521 to the main arteries here, Providence. So it's just definitely beautiful project. However, the wrong location. I, as a resident, do not want it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Candace DeFinis.
Good evening, everybody. As you all know, it's not the first time, certainly won't be my last, but we did have our meeting on October the 19th, and I want to be very clear that it was organized by the HOA, but we did not just have HOA board members present. We did have residents of our community present. Many of those residents are here this evening as well. And I would like to thank Mr. Ross and team for coming and walking through the project with everybody. As I stated during the last public comment section, we have very much seen the improvements and appreciated the partnership that we have had through this process. And we do very much understand and respect, the neighbors' rights to sell and market their property. We agree that this property does not need to be a residential property. We agree that this property does need to be sold. We agree that it does need to align with the plans that the town has, whether it be the 16 corridor plan, the comprehensive plan, whichever plan we're going to go forward with. We do agree that it does need to move forward and be a commercial property. The issue that we have had and that we have always had is with the automotive use. The automotive service center, as well as the gas station. Call it a convenience store, call it a car wash, call it what you will, but there will be 16 gas pumps there. So it is also a gas station. We have also talked about our traffic concerns. We've talked about all the concerns we've gone over and over and over again and again and again. Again, we as a neighborhood would just respectfully ask that you understand why we don't want to have this gas station right in front of our neighborhood. We don't want to have the traffic concerns and the concerns that this gas station would bring for many, 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 many years to come. We don't see it as aligning with the plans that are currently in place for Waxhaw, the vision for Waxhaw. There are so many residents here, and we have been here meeting after meeting after meeting. We all chose to live here because we wanted to be a part of the historic, quaint nature of this town. We all chose to live here. I have 3 generations of my family that live in Curriton. So we are dedicated to being and making Waxhaw a better place and being a part of the process. And we are asking and respectfully requesting that you hear what we're saying as the residents, that, we want thoughtful development, things that we don't have here yet, things that would benefit us, things that would make us spend our money here versus having to drive to Blakeney, versus having to drive to Stonecrest, versus having to spend our tax dollars elsewhere. Let's think and carefully plan what we don't have. Let's put another office space here. Let's have something that's mixed use. Let's think about what we can do. Let's all come together as a group and communicate what we want to see. Again, I have very high respect for this process and for everybody's time, and I do appreciate the partnership that we have had with the development team. And I also do welcome any questions that you have regarding the neighborhood meeting. If you have any of those, I'd be happy to comment on those as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Finnis. Jerry Davis.
Good afternoon, and I'm glad to be here tonight. First of all, I want to thank the folks that are serving as the commissioners and the mayor and other personnel that have influence on the programs that take place here and the development that's occurring along the way. I appreciate having a chance to speak and talk with you very briefly for another minute or two, but it is a thing that's dear to my heart. As was mentioned, we really have been in the process of trying to market this property since 2007. And that's a long time, folks, probably longer than some of you have lived here. And it's important for us because we as a family no longer use this property as a residence and a dwelling. And it's sitting there, and I think over the last 5 years, we've invested almost $50,000 in taxes for that property. And so it hasn't really benefited us a great deal. And we think it's time that we have an opportunity to put this property on the market and put it into a program that's going to be valuable to us. As Mr. Wood stated over there, we're at a point where we have a lot of residents in the community, and we'd like to see some more economic development. And as you've seen the sketches, the plan that's up here, this provides that opportunity or a opportunity to do that. We've seen the possibilities of some facilities there that will enhance the tax base and improve the opportunity to use that tax for things that we need in our Waxhaw community. In an effort to develop a commercial plan, we have the management team from MISU. We have the Moser Group with Eagle Engineering that's worked with us. And you've heard John speak over here tonight about the program in a little bit more depth. But those folks are Union County people. They're people that grew up here. The people that have lived here their entire lives and see some of the things that's taking place across this county. I know that at the folks over with Eagle Engineering has done a great job in their engineering efforts to develop a plan. I know that Mr. Dennis Moser was one of the students at the school where I taught for many years over there, and in that period of time, he was an outstanding leader there. He has grown and developed a business that's really respected in the community and is really important. And the person, Dr. Walters, was my dentist for a long time, and he has a son that's involved in this property. Ingram Walters is one of the men that's put this program together. And so those people have come together and partnered together to develop a program and a business opportunity for the town of Waxhaw, and I think it can be a real plus for the county, and it can be a real plus for the community. It says, although the planning board approved the project, I believe at the July meeting, it was suggested and recommended that we put that project on hold because when they had the open hearing on that, there were some questions and concerns raised about it. And those questions and concerns that came up prompted this team to come together make some additional changes in the program that we presently had in that first plan. I think the changes were made were significant. I think the work that was done by that group or that team that's come together and worked together to put this program together did an outstanding job with what they did. They provided opportunity. They provided a way that we could use some additional revenue coming in from the business component, and I believe they did that in good taste. Although, as we, over that past 7 years, I've faced a number of obstacles along the way. And I mentioned a couple of those the last time I met with you, but I just want to remind you about those. In 2007, I believe it was, the Windstream fiber optic cable came right across our property, never approached anybody, and put that cable across our property without any input from us at all. That's just one example of what we're talking about. Also, on the Aston property across the road, that development came in there. There was a widening of Highway 16 over there. At that time, there was not a setback or have a roadside distance. I believe it's 60 feet on that. But anyway, they came in and put that extension of the 16, not on their side of the property, but it came all the way over on our side of the property, but put that extension on our side of the property without even consulting us in any way about it. Also, in Aston Properties' favor was there is a culvert that goes under Highway 16. It's adjacent to our property. It carried some of the water runoff from what property we have there. And there was an attempt by them to close that off. But I believe according to DOT, that is not, you're not able to do that. So because of the concern that was raised about that, they did leave that open. And if we look at some other things with our property over the years that we're talking about, in several of those, the developer has attempted to put us on an island out there. If you look at that property out there, every piece of property around us, with the exception of one residence up at the north end of that, is zone CU3, commercial. The property right behind there is still open. There's nothing there. We requested to be included in the Waxhaw, and I believe I shared that with you last time, and that was the case, but it took 2 meetings to get us into Waxhaw. And rather than being C3, which we requested, we were zone residential 40. And at this time, that's still the case. So my question would be, if all that other property around there is in business, his own business, why would it be such a factor to move that into a situation where it could be commercial, and where that property that was brought out in this plan tonight could be able, or you could be able to use it as a tax base and an improvement to the community to have that additional tax base that you can use for your business here, or for your town here. The distance, and I know we have a lot of people here from over at Curitan subdivision here, and I respect that, and I do know that when you were purchasing that property and building homes over there, to my knowledge, there was not a resident in this community that came up and said, we really don't want all those properties being developed over there and the houses being put in over there. I don't think there was anybody that did that. But as we look at that, the back of that property that we've put on the plan up here tonight is almost 500 feet from where their residents are located. And within that location there is a buffer of trees and natural vegetation that helps to screen off. And I don't believe the residents from over on that side can even see the property that we have reference to in the things that we have here. I realize that there's a variety of interest on things. I know that everybody don't see eye to eye on everything, but I can tell you that we have worked really hard with the people that are, as a real professional staff, and has worked really hard to put together a good plan. I think they've done that, and I think it's time that we look at that situation and say, we have come up with a plan that's suitable, that can meet the needs of the community, that provide opportunities for employment, provide opportunity for additional revenue, and provide opportunities for people to shop and do things there in a setting that will be comfortable and appealing. I want to thank you for the time to meet with you tonight, and I appreciate your attention, and I appreciate your willingness to consider this project. I think it's time that we take this into consideration. It is our desire and our expectation that we've overcome some of those obstacles. There's probably still a few more out there, but I can tell you over the years we have experienced numerous problems, and those problems in many cases have been occurred because of somebody else's efforts and not ours. We've tried to be good neighbors to the people here in the community, and we want to continue to be good neighbors, but I think it's time that we looked at this situation and looked at it in a positive way and give us an opportunity to sell that property. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Anybody have a
Davis.
question? I'll be glad to share any questions if you have a question.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Sandra Bushnell.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Sandra Bushnell, and I live on 2806 Beavis Lane in Carrollton. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I will start out by telling you that I am a retired Air Force officer of 29 years, and within my 29 years in the military, I've served all over the world, in Europe and in the Pacific, and all over these United States. I say this to tell you that I chose to live here in Waxhaw because of what it would offer me, a small town. That's why I came here. I didn't come here to live in Gasoline Alley. We have over 5 stations in this town that I can see that nobody utilizes. So you might want to ask yourself, what exactly is the revenue that you're making from the gas stations that are currently in town, since the developer is purporting to bring you so much revenue from taxes from gasoline sales? So have you looked into that? It's clear that the developer has purchased or intend to purchase this property for the sole purpose of putting a gas station here. We have several convenience stores in this town. We have the Harris Teeters, which is open for extended period of time. The gas stations that we do have here have convenience stores there. Right across from the property that intends to be developed, there's a gas station with a convenience store there. There's not that many people in this town that needs convenience stores, so I don't know why we need another one. The tax revenue that we're purported to make from here. I understand that this town needs to diversify the revenues. It's currently coming from single-family homes, and look at the number of single-family homes that you're planning to develop. Because people plan to live in this small town, not because they're looking for convenience stores or gas stations. We would like to see retail stores when we can purchase clothing, shoes, and those kind of things, sit down restaurants, maybe even, like a David Buster's where kids can play and families can go spend their time there and eat and do all those things. But we don't want another gas station. I worked as a contracting officer predominantly with construction and doing EPA environmental cleanups. I do not want another gas station in this town. You currently are digging up the roads, and what did you find? You found at least 6 tanks of gas that were buried, and God knows how contaminated that soil is. Probably you're not paying for that because the developer is the one who's responsible if they purchase a property without knowing what was under it. But in the future, putting those 18 or however many pumps that's been stated, not confirmed, that's going to require a lot more tanks. When that area is contaminated, are you going to use my tax dollars to fix it because the developer is going to pull out when they're not making the revenue that they think they're going to make? Majority of people in this town, and probably some of you sitting at this table, go to South Carolina and purchase your gas because it's 30 cents cheaper. Let's be honest and be real. We don't need another gas station in this town. Not all money coming into this town is good money. We understand that we need the revenue. So I implore you to think wisely. bring smart things into this town, because this is mostly single families, people with children. They want the quiet, the peace, the safe area. Bring things in the town that we want, not things that are quick, that are good money, that you think you're going to make revenue from without doing a proper study. Now let's add safety. Let's address the traffic issue. You already have a problem in Kensington, and you don't have all the property that you're building in there. You have a bunch of business coming in. All that traffic, what it's going to do when 16 is all backed up, people are going to start speeding through the housing area, cutting shortcuts where we have our kids playing in the street. Did anybody think about that? Because people are going to find alternate routes when 16 is all backed up. Please wait for the traffic report. Make some good, sound decisions. I know some of you may be on your way out, and that may not be on your forefront right now. You're thinking about voters. Do think about voters, because if you do get reelected, you're going to see us again. We're going to keep coming to these meetings until you make decisions that affect the town. Think about the people that live here. We moved here because of what Waxhaw offers. If I wanted to live in a retail town, I would have lived in the other towns that are fully, have all kind of gas stations and everything else. We have working gas stations in the town. If revenue's an issue, how much money are they really making, if that's what you want to bring here? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bushnell. Okay, that concludes the, those who have signed up to speak in this public hearing. So, do we have any other questions for staff or the developer or anything? Okay. So, what do we want to do here?
So my question to our legal advice that we sought earlier, in closing the public hearing, does that not allow for any more information to be entered in, i.e. the traffic study?
It can be considered, it just won't be in the public hearing,
Correct. With this being
because it's conditional.
legislative, you can still hear more information, but if there's going to be any debate, discussion, change or modification, it's better to have that in a public hearing if there's going to be dialogue from it. So you can still receive it, but if we're going to change or modify their plans, it gets to be kind of difficult.
Or if you want to hear from
Hear from the public.
from the public on new information.
Okay. So based on that information, I make a motion that we, I make a motion again that we table the public hearing, or recess the public hearing until we receive, until we receive further information on the traffic study. It's been referenced earlier by the citizens that it boils down to good governance, and not having all the facts before we make a decision doesn't equate to that.
Do we need time, date, and place?
You can do that, or you can re-advertise. I don't know that you can give time, date, and
Right, with the
place, because we don't know when it's.
Well, according to Mr. Wood, we anticipate having the traffic analysis back from Kinley Horn around Thanksgiving. So that means that because of the legislative rules, that if we're waiting for the traffic study, then the hearing cannot be continued until after the new board is sworn in. So that would essentially be our first January meeting.
Right, but that's also contingent upon the swearing in of the new board and the organizational meeting to the board schedule, to the meeting schedule, and
Right,
so forth.
in December.
An option would be to have staff re-advertise when the information is available and in accordance with law. The "and in accordance with law" would mean they couldn't or shouldn't put it on an agenda prior to the new board. It would be as specific, but that way they would properly notice it, and if the new board wants it at an earlier date, or if it comes in, then you could address it. Because the new board could, right now, y'all's current laws have the new board in their organizational meeting coming in after the first scheduled meeting. That could be changed, it could be.
In December.
Yes.
Right.
that could actually be modified up earlier, but it never has in the history of Waxhaw, so I don't anticipate it this time.
Not in 125 years,
Nah.
right?
So then my motion will be that we recess this public hearing, stated what you stated, through receiving of the traffic study, and then in accordance with the law for the first meeting after
For
that.
notification and putting it on agenda in accordance
Correct.
with applicable law.
Through notification process and so forth. And again, my thought behind that is, again, good governance. I can't raise my hand up or down without all the information, and all the information at this point to me, individually, is all the information and how it affects. And I don't live in Curitan, but I drive 16 every day. So it does affect me, and it does affect Waxhaw.
Would you like to include in your motion to allow for additional public comments at the continued public hearing on the new information?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we have a motion. Is the motion clear? Even though we don't have a time, date, and place?
Right.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
Warren, could you explain what is coming back to us and the intricacies of having to deal with the DOT and some of the offers on the table and all that?
Yeah, there's the intersection at Kensington Drive, Cuthbertson, Highway 16 does not function properly. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done to determine how it functions today. They're looking at 18 separate intersections related to time of day, volume, and whatnot. So they will come back with a variety of information, and the NCDOT will ultimately weigh in on what the requirements are going to be. And specifically, we've talked about the possibility of putting money into a kitty, so to speak, for future improvements. But ultimately, that's going to be the DOT's decision as to whether or not they are okay with that, or if they want the developer to go ahead and make the improvements if the project was approved. So there's a tremendous amount of information that's being gathered.
And part of that is Kimberly Horn is reviewing what we suggested as what we want for Highway 16, the road, and we'll also get an impact back as to whether or not that our vision plan's feasible and or what that would cost for us.
And the other thing that plays into that is development that we know, they're also looking at development that we know is going to be occurring, the Catholic Church, Forest Hill Church, the YMCA, other residential development. So a variety of other impact, Millbridge, a variety of other projects that are going to be impacting that intersection and corridor. So they're looking at that side of it as well.
Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? If there's none, I will call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Okay, so this will continue until after we get the traffic analysis from Kimberly Horn, and that will be after the new board is in place. So thank you all for coming out tonight. I know that that's very important to you. Okay, we're going to take a short break, come back in 10 minutes.
Vote on this one, Mike.
Yeah. Motion to table. Yeah. Or reschedule.
Yes.
It's not really tabled.
Table on it because it never really came close.
So, yeah, recalendar. Let's move on to old business. And first item is discussion and possible action on petition TA-003717-2015, a request by staff to amend section 21.7.3.a of the Waxhaw Unified Development Ordinance to revise the maximum parking requirements in the downtown area by adding food and beverage establishments. And when did we have this public hearing, at our last meeting? Okay, so do you have anything further for us this evening on that?
No, ma'am. I'm here to answer questions.
Okay, so we had our public hearing at the last meeting on this, and Mr. Rice is here to answer any questions that you have. So, what's your pleasure? Anyone?
You asked the question, I answered. I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, please do. Okay, we have a motion to approve. And does this one require the statement of reasonableness and consistency? Would you like to incorporate that into your motion?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion that incorporates the statement of reasonableness and consistency. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is unanimous. The second item of old business is the Michaud Resource Management that we just recessed the public hearing for. So this needs to be rescheduled. Chaplain, what since we didn't schedule the public hearing for a specific date, what are we going to reschedule this to?
Yeah, I think I would just instruct staff to reschedule this to coincide with the public
With the
notification and rescheduling after.
Reconvene public
yeah,
hearing?
After the TWA, on the same night as the reconvened hearing.
Or in the same meeting as the reconvened hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion? Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion's unanimous. Thank you. New business, we have a presentation of social media training to be conducted with town staff. Ms. Hoffman.
Good evening. I was told I had to talk loud into the microphone, so I'm going to get it up here.
Thank you.
Board and Mayor, earlier last week you received an email from Mr. Warren on your presence requested at some social media and crisis communications training that will be conducted by Mark Weaver. He's a communications counsel who has decades of national political and issue campaign experience. He's actually counseled clients in 17 states on both crisis communications and media relations. And locally, he was the counsel that was hired by the city of Charlotte to assist with the social media and crisis communications during the Officer Carrick trial. So very well known. If I can figure out how to work the clicker. All right. Got it. As part of our scorecard that that the public can actually see now on the front page of the Town of Waxhaw website, we have listed our 2015-2016 strategic initiatives. One of those is to promote community involvement and engagement, and part of the assignments on there are to develop an overall town communications plan, policy, and process, and to expand the town's social media presence. That plan will actually discuss town communications as it relates to our municipal image, our branding, or what we're going to define it as is a branding revival of Waxhaw's town story, technology use, citizen engagement, publications and advertising, social media policy, crisis communications, and public relations efforts. As it relates to social media policy, we've been speaking with social media attorneys and doing some research. And Warren asked me just to explain to you why we feel social media training is necessary, not only for staff, but also for the Board of Commissioners. And social media is a powerful broadcasting tool. As you know, it can reach out to several of our residents. In fact, when we have a very controversial issue or one about bike races in town. We have found that we reach over 20,000 people with our posts, so it is very instrumental, but it also can cause permanent reputational damage. So as part of that, we need to know the law. In court, you'll find that opposing counsel will place our social media policy and training to high intensity under their legal lenses to see if we have any flaws in it. So if we're going to write a social media policy, which we don't have right now, we want to make sure that it's accurate and can be held up in court. There are several cases that have been revealed that employees can actually blame their mistakes that they make on social media on inadequate training and can hold leadership personally liable for not receiving adequate training. So the courts want to see training, not just policies, which is why we feel that training is necessary. And I know almost every week you've seen a new headline that appears like this one. This is a city councilwoman who was sued for $2.35 million because of a post that she made on Facebook. This is what we want to avoid here in Waxhaw. Defense costs on average in social media cases, according to social media attorney Mark Fiedelholtz, average around $350,000, and the average settlement is around $500,000. And here's some real-life examples of other punitive damages that have been awarded. So our goal is to help us avoid social media liability, understand privacy laws, libel laws, distinguish between what's protected and unprotected as far as our own opinions on social media, discuss employer liability issues as it relates to social media, and to eliminate social media mistakes that hurt our public image and may trigger costly lawsuits. The first session with Mark Weaver will be on Monday, December 7th, and this is kind of the agenda that he has set for us. He'll go through government needs to master social media strategies, different platforms that governments should use, that being Facebook, Twitter, etc., different social medias, legal issues surrounding government social media use, and best practices and policies.
Can I ask a question while you're...
Yep, go ahead.
Are you planning, Warren, to come to the board with the social media policy for us to see it before the training, or?
The policy will actually be written after the training. What Mark Weaver suggests is that we receive the training first, and he goes through best practices and policies, and we write the policy after we receive the training. His recommendation.
Okay.
But because I really did ask if we should write the policy first.
But it ties to the HR policy, which we also have to see. I'm just, is that?
It'll be a separate policy from the HR policy.
But there's repercussions if you don't use the social media. I'm just trying to understand how this is all going to tie together.
We got a lot of catching up to do.
Okay.
In terms of policies.
So a lot of catching up to do.
Code enforcement, HR policy, social media, the whole 9 yards.
Okay.
And
human resource policy.
Did you ask the question if the board would be covered under that?
No, just the policy. Since it's a policy, I was wondering.
Okay.
You know, when it would come to the board and when it would relate to the HR, human research.
Town policy or a staff policy? Yes.
Well, I thought we, in a previous meeting, agreed that everybody in the town would abide by the social media policy, didn't we?
Well, what we can do, we could.
Yeah, I thought we agreed on that.
Okay. It would be good to get feedback from this gentleman on that very topic.
You will receive feedback from him on whether or not you should be included in that policy, and best practices for you as representatives of the town and your liability issues.
And from your previous slides, that looks like an obvious answer.
Yes.
Okay. Let's make sure we're clear on that.
What Mark is going to do is actually run us through some small group exercises so that you can understand by a typical post that you might post and whether that caused legal issues for you, and whether your post might violate a First Amendment right, or the removal of a post from our page, whether that might violate First Amendment rights. If someone posts something on Hitler, can you remove that, or are you offending taking away someone's First Amendment rights? So he'll be explaining all that to us. The communications plan will also cover crisis communications, so the second day of training will actually be on Tuesday, December 8th, and that will cover crisis communications. We also have issues here where, with our events, let's say fireworks goes into the crowd, or in recent news where a driver runs into a crowd in the parade and happens to injure and kill people, what our crisis communications policy should do for that. So he will cover how government communications is different, thinking like a reporter, what they're there looking for, controlling our story, what makes a story actually newsworthy, and for those of us that will be in front of the camera, kind of soundbite basics. So what you want to say on camera versus not, because they're looking for that 3-second soundbite from you. The different roles of media members, message discipline in a crisis, and he'll also run you through, again, small group exercises, interviews by newspaper, radio, TV, and press conferences. So again, Warren just wanted me to let you know what the agenda was going to be for those 2 days and to invite you to be at those.
What's the times?
It will be all-day sessions on Monday and Tuesday,
Starting at 8?
8 to 5.
And
Here?
Chief Ice kindly said that we could use the training facility here.
John?
I'd also like to get a consensus from this current board that we invite the makeup of the new board to this session, even though they're not seated, that we include them in this.
And the second day is more the second day is more specifically for whomever the mayor and the mayor pro tem are. But everybody is welcome to come.
Everybody is welcome,
Yeah.
but it will be mainly directed at people who will be asked to be in front of a camera, which typically is the mayor, mayor pro tem, town manager, key
Department
staff
heads.
individuals.
But anybody's welcome to come.
Yes.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So if you are the head of the staff there, so to speak, the policies that will be in terms of this training, will they be a communicative association of ideas from the board, or will they be made up by you with a small group of people?
You mean who will write the policy?
No, who will direct the policy?
Town manager.
You're gonna direct of public relations and stories and all that stuff?
Town manager is the CEO of the town.
Okay, I didn't know that. So,
Yep.
okay, so
It'll all go through Warren.
you're gonna take this training, and so the mayor goes out and makes a speech.
If you're offering to help, I'll take you up on it.
But you don't work with me. I know, but I'm just trying to get an idea of how this all
I'm sorry?
works, you know,
I think Commissioner Stewart has his hand up.
Okay.
and you're in an area which is very difficult in light of what's going on in the election world and everything else, and how stories are spread around and everything else. And so it's good to have a policy. Who directs the policy?
That'd be me.
That's the town manager.
The board will police the board.
So the phone stuff.
For staff, the board will police the board.
Yep. Commissioner Stewart, did you have something?
No, I was just gonna bring up the fact that the 7th and the 8th, you got new people coming on board. So, I don't even know if it would be for me, if you signed up, you should be here.
Will this be a public meeting since it will be, yeah, I mean, it's training, but it's board training, so shouldn't it fall under the open meeting requirement? So that members of the public can come? Chaplain?
Yeah, if you're going to have a quorum of which you're directing and participating in on instruction, it would. You can have a gathering, but it would probably be notice if there is going to be a quorum.
So it would be more of a workshop then for us.
A work session, a joint board and staff work session type of thing. So we'll have to figure out how to do the advertisement for that, so that's, so that meets the
Notice of a possible quorum, just,
open meetings laws.
yeah, no action expected to be taken.
Okay,
But again, by that time, we will know who the elected or
Sure.
the
right.
elect are,
Yes.
and encourage them strongly to attend.
Oh, absolutely. Now, previous boards have discussed with our neighboring municipalities in the past about doing joint training sessions where, if we're doing a training session, we put the word out to our four neighboring municipalities and invite them to also show up. I don't know what kind of space we have available, but is that something that this board would like to talk about? Commissioner? That's it, yeah.
Fee is for the.
It's a lump sum.
It's a lump sum, so.
Yeah.
If you want to extend that.
What was the purpose, though, for us to interact and then kind of evolve to what the structure of our policy is going to be, that's such that it can be written?
Yes.
I mean, it's a work session for us? Okay.
Right, I'm just thinking if it's open to the public, we might as well invite our neighboring elected officials.
The social media training is any individual who's responsible for social media posts and crisis communication as well. So anyone who has those direct responsibilities, because there are several on staff in different departments that have that responsibility.
Commissioner Stewart, did you have something?
I mean, just given my perspective of being here the last couple of years and watching social media develop the way it has, and the issues that we've had to deal with here at town, I'd say our town really needs it, and if we want to share it when we're done, I believe that we should do it on our own first.
I agree.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have issues, we need to clear them up, we need to get it set, and before we invite anybody else, and
Okay.
copy us along the way.
Okay. I just wanted to, sure. I just wanted to put that out there. Okay. Yes, sir.
So along that line, though, again, the whole staff as a whole, I should say, this initial meeting would cover the department heads, this board, but then there will be more training for the staff after the policy is developed, that they understand, because again, it said they have to have training.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So do you need anything from us this evening, or is
No,
that
it's
just for our
informative
information?
to let you know so that we could put it on your calendars and hopefully attend.
There.
Very good. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, we have a few items to discuss in closed session, so I will entertain a motion to go into closed session for, to discuss personnel, real estate matters, and real estate and contractual matters.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I do not anticipate that there will be any decisions coming from the closed session, so you can stick around if you want to, so you can go home. You can stick around if you want to, but